You're someone with a vision for your practice, for your side hustle, and for your personal journey. But when it comes to establishing your path on how to get to where you want to be with your practice, things get a little messy. You're also someone who'd prefer to go in person instead of to groups and listening to everyone else's story. To me, it sounds like you could benefit from one-on-one consulting with our experienced Practice of the Practice consultants. From $5.95 a month and up, you can work with a consultant that will give you more direction and practical tried and tested tips matched to you and your goals. For more information, visit practiceofthepractice.com/apply. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/apply. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1326. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we help you build a thriving private practice you absolutely love. We want you to thrive. We want you to do well. We want you to do all the things that just, keep your license going well, keep the marketing going well, all of that. But we want you to also love your practice. We want you to show up, whether it's online or in person, and say, I can't believe these are the clients I get to work with. This is the community impact that I'm making. This is the impact on the broader world that I'm making. We want you to be able to do all those things. So you are in the right place if you want a thriving practice you love. We are so excited to do this 3 days a week for you. Last year we did 5 days a week. So lots of episodes behind us if you're looking for all sorts of information beyond kind of what we're doing currently. One series that I've been doing, if you've missed it, is I started a private practice from scratch, talking about each step of starting a counseling group practice from scratch, only working 2 hours a week on it, and then reporting out every week as to where I'm spending my time and what I'm doing. So if you want to follow that journey, that started just a handful of weeks ago. My goal is that within 5 years to be in a position to either sell it or to say, here's all the passive income I'm making, and here's how I did it, that you can follow that entire journey week by week. So those of you that have been writing and letting me know about that, just kind of what you're getting from it, super exciting as I build Great Lakes Online Counseling. I'm so excited today to have with me Tobin Richardson, who is a nationally certified counselor, has his doctorate as well, is a counselor educator with decades of experience building and delivering innovative educational resources. He believes counselor education should actually be designed for learning and should make your life easier. Since launching his free produced podcast CE series, Save the Therapist, in early 2025, it's garnered thousands of therapist users who decided to complete their CEs in a way that was educational, engaging, accessible, and free. Tobin, welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk with you.
Yeah, so tell me about before you started Save the Therapist, what kind of educational stuff were you doing before that?
Yeah, so I worked in counselor education most of my career. Actually, I still do. I have a full-time gig leading education for a big community mental health organization. So yeah, kind of through that role, I started to realize there was a lot of opportunity to be able to think differently about how we deliver CEs specifically.
Yeah. What was the problem with CEs when you first started Save the Therapist that you saw?
Yeah. Well, so, I've just talked to so many therapists at this point who have said they sort of think about their professional development kind of in two different ways. Like there's the things they do to learn about delivering the best care, and they're really excited about that. And then and sometimes those come with CEs, sometimes they don't. And then there's like the stuff they do so that when they renew their license, they check all the right boxes. And a lot of times, I can't tell you how many therapists I heard from who said, if I really want to learn about something, I'm not looking for a CE. I'm looking for the right resource. So basically, they're like required to do two separate things. It's like that the system wasn't designed or shouldn't have been designed to create another layer of bureaucracy. It should have been designed and the purpose behind it is so that therapists like continue growing professionally throughout their career. And so I mean, from early in my career, I thought if I can help bridge this gap and be kind of like a step towards making therapists' lives easier in this way, I want to try to do it.
Mm. What are some of the favorite courses you guys have in there?
Oh gosh. Well, so I mean, so a little bit more about Save the Therapist. I really lean into like a produced podcast style of course. So I really try to incorporate like very journalistic methods of helping people to learn about the topic at hand. Actually, and I'll come back to your question, I promise. But the motivation for this course or for this platform was back in 2019. One of my favorite podcasts. It's called This American Life. It's really leans into storytelling, and it's very well known. They just happened to release an episode that was focused on cognitive processing therapy. And it's not a podcast just for therapists. So I was very intrigued. I thought I cannot wait to listen to this episode. And essentially it was this journalist who was herself going through cognitive processing therapy, was recording the sessions, putting a story together about it, like why it works, what it's like. And I remember listening to that episode and very quickly thinking that was the best educational experience I've had in an hour ever. I'm excited to use CPT. I feel like I could do it now. And I knew enough about CE delivery at that point that I thought, I don't think there'd be anything precluding something like this, if you did it in the right way, from being CE eligible. So that's very much the style I lean into. And so when I think about my favorite courses, sometimes they're not the topics that I would have necessarily thought I'm most interested in, but they're courses where like that style worked really well. One of the examples that comes to my mind is I did an episode on grief counseling. And one of the reasons I chose that topic was because just a few months before I'd lost my dad. And so I knew that I wanted to go through, I needed that. Like I was really struggling with grief at that time. And I thought like, I want to record these sessions. And so of course that's a little bit ethically complicated. I had to work really closely with a therapist who agreed to kind of like work with me in that consultation way. It was such a cool experience. At the time I thought, I don't know if this is going to be a course for the platform because it's incredibly personal, so through that course, I'm pulling in a lot of my sessions and then sort of like talking about the methods that the counselor was using, things like that. So it just turned out in the end to be like a very cathartic experience for me personally. I thought it was very educational. I still go back and listen to that course and like feel connected to my dad, and it helps me kind of think about my grief arc, So that's a really cool one. It's hard for me to engage how other people would view that course, but I still love listening to it. Probably the one I would recommend to other people. If they said I'm only going to listen to one and see if it's a good fit for me. I did one on incel culture, which I had no clue what I was getting into. I knew just a little bit, about incel culture. And I decided like I'm going to actually join this incel community, which I don't recommend, but one of the very unique things about incel culture is it's all happening online. So I was like, I can just get online and see exactly what's happening in this community. And then when I did that, I realized I have no idea what these people are talking about. Like a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense to me. So then I consulted with this therapist who specializes in incel culture. And he was making sense of I was like asking him all these questions about what I was seeing. And he was explaining it to me. Like, here's the point this community is trying to make. The reason I love that course is because I think more than any other course, I learned so much about that culture and that community. in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise. So those are two that when I think back to, I would say they're two of my favorites.
Hmm. I want to thank Headway for sponsoring this episode. As a group practice leader, you know that insurance and admin work can take up hours every week. Time you could be spending with clients or growing your team. Benefits reset season is the perfect opportunity to make improvements to those processes. That's why I personally recommend Headway for group practices. Headway lightens your load with fast and free insurance credentialing and admin support, plus offers competitive per-session rates and bi-weekly payments your team can count on. They're the only platform designed specifically for in-network group practices, and they work with therapy, psychiatric, and hybrid groups of all sizes. Thousands of group practice leaders use Headway to simplify insurance admin and reach more people through in-network care. The best part, there's no subscription fees. Now's a great time to join. With Headway, you'll be helping more people get the care they deserve while supporting your team with more clients and a lighter admin load. Make next year the best year yet for your group practice. Head on over to join.headway.co/Joe. That's join.headway.co/Joe to book a tour. I'm wondering, when did you have the idea for Save the Therapist? Because I think a lot of folks will have ideas of going beyond their clinical work and they don't take action. So, like, how did that idea form? And then how did you kind of launch all of it?
Yeah, so it really was very soon after hearing that episode of This American Life and kind of realizing we're doing such interesting work. Like, our work is so interesting that this national public radio is doing this whole educational episode around it because they think that a wider audience would also be interested in hearing about it. And I agree with them. Like, that was an episode I've talked to non-therapists who really loved as well. So that was kind of my light bulb moment. Like, we should be leaning into that. And then I was lucky enough to actually be working in counselor ed. So I've worked both at sort of like a big VC-backed platform that was building their own counselor ed stuff, as well as a community mental health organization. And so in both of those roles, I was actually given the opportunity to test this. Like, all right, build it out. First see if we can get CE approval for it, build it out, release it to our network, start to get feedback. One of the amazing things about the CE process is it's required that you get feedback. Every person who gets a CE credit has to be giving you feedback. So that was huge for me. I think for people who don't have that built-in structure, being really strategic about how are you making sure that the way you resonate with something, test it. See if other people also resonate in that way. Get feedback from your audience is a huge deal. Luckily, I had that sort of built in with my process. And so that kind of was a snowball. Like, as soon as I built and delivered it, I was seeing, oh, this is getting way better reviews than our normal stuff. And at that time, it was like I had no prototype. Like, it was bad when I go back and listen to some of the early stuff I built. So I knew I could keep doing it better. And basically it slowly built and built and built to the point where I thought, I don't want there to be like a gate up for who's getting this. I have to figure out a way to just get it out to anybody who wants to learn about these topics. And then at some point, I just built up the courage then to actually invest in Save the Therapist. And yeah, I guess the rest is history at this point.
I'm wondering about some of the automations, because, if you have thousands of people, listening, learning, getting certificates, like, that just seems like a tech nightmare.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to have a learning management system. So you automate almost all that through a learning management system. You build the course out, but then people registering and then going and enrolling in the courses and then all the data collection it's as good as the learning management system you have, but they are sort of how all that gets organized. I will say there's absolutely no way that I found, at least, to automate the course creation process, not with the way I want to do it, because I think what makes it good is really the storytelling, like creative element. And I wish there was a way to automate that because it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. I've learned like there's things I can automate and there's things I can't. And I just have to do all that myself. And luckily I have fun doing it, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think if you have that artistic vision for it and you're offering a free product, it's like, at some point you may get sponsors or things like that or partners. But yeah, if it's kind of more of a passion project at the beginning versus some big venture capitalists, VC backed thing, there's two very different models. And, if you want to keep that artistic legitimacy, to it and to not just have it be influenced by the money side, like, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, it's worked so far. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about how you're seeing people transform as a result of the platform.
Yeah, for sure. So like I mentioned, we have thousands of people on there now. The average person who completes a course completes 4 or 5. And this is all within the confines of 1 year, which for those who have done like a licensure renewal know, not really probably thinking about it much until right before your renewal comes up. So I think we have a lot of data to suggest that people like it once they try it. Just tons of anecdotal feedback through the course evaluations of people who say things like, I never thought about how to incorporate this in this way. Like, how did I not know that? Or this story really resonated with me. I had the way I always envisioned people using my platform was that they had a client on their caseload this week who they felt stuck with. Like I have this client who, I know this thing has happened to or is part of this community or whatever, and I'm just feeling lost. That it's this really quick way to be able to kind of get some ideas and get some information on your commute to work or whatever. And I do think people are using it in that way. I think I've been surprised that like people really, I don't know, really feel really feel moved by some of the stories, and some of the content. And yeah, I think feel like they have a place to go now where it's not just someone lecturing at them. It's actually like feeling like they're having a conversation with someone about the topic at hand, where they're really leaving with practical tips. I hope that's at least what people are getting out of it.
Yeah. How did you decide? Like initially, it sounds like you were kind of partnering with the organization you work with and testing some of that. Like, how should people think through when they have a new idea, who to partner with, who not to partner with, how much of their own ownership to have versus having people invest in a business idea? How do you sort through those things?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I feel like there are pros and cons to any way you could go about doing it, so long as you're being strategic and doing it with a purpose. So I think my situation was unique in that I was able to build the skills up I needed myself and like do all the LMS administration and do all like the technical editing and creative work. And I had the right credentials to be a CE administrator and apply to the organizations. And I actually think that's the reason I've been able to keep it free when that's a really hard thing to do, because for most people, there'd be a lot of people kind of working on this endeavor. But I have thought about this a lot in terms of, I think it's inevitable that you're going to run up against challenges that you have to figure out. It doesn't make more sense for me to try to like get by with this on my own, like learn myself how to do this thing and like do it, okay. Or when does it make sense for me to really collaborate with someone who understands my vision and mission and has this skill set that I don't have that can really like help the product or the organization boom. And I just think it's a case by case decision. But yeah, if you can find the right person who really can be like the yin to your yang in a way that you really need it, take it really seriously, because even endeavors that seem relatively simple, when I started I thought it was going to be relatively simple, get so complicated so fast. Like the challenge is always in all the details, and it's a lot for one person to manage all these different skills on their own.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tobin, the last question I always ask is, if every private practitioner in the world were listening right now, what would you want them to know?
I would say, this is another thing I've learned through Save the Therapist. I think a lot of therapists are not giving themselves credit for the skills and the work that they're doing. I hear so often like therapists that I think of as fantastic, like people that I admire and I can tell they really know what they're talking about and they're content experts, say, I didn't think I could do this because I didn't think I knew enough or like could deliver the right practical information. And like, ironically, usually what I think of as like the best educators tend to say that. So, I mean, give yourself credit for the stuff that you're doing. You're probably much more skilled than you realize potentially. And yeah, if there's something you love doing, like if there's a part of the profession or the career where you see that there's a need, I mean, I think you should try to serve it. I've had fun doing it, even though I have not made any money yet, and I've invested a lot. It's never felt like work to me because I've always like saw that maybe that gap was closing, and that's just a really awesome, fulfilling thing.
So awesome. If people want to read more about Save the Therapist, if they want to follow your work, where should we send them?
I would go to savethetherapist.com. All the podcast episodes are actually linked within the Spotify links or within each course that you could click into. So if you're having a hard time envisioning what a CE that's in this produced podcast format would sound like, go into a course that sounds interesting to you, give it like a minute or two, and you'll get a better idea of if it's a good fit, if it's a way that you want to earn CEs.
Well, Tobin, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
It's interesting. Just today, I renewed my my NBCC stuff. Even though I sold my practice in 2019, I've been in retirement. But right now, I don't have to do those CEs because my license and all that's in retirement. But if I decide to doing counseling again, I'll definitely have to look into the CEs that Tobin's offering. We could not do this show without our amazing sponsors. And today, Headway is our sponsor. If you are looking for help running your practice and want the best group practice you can have, you're going to want to sign up with Headway. They are trusted by thousands of group practice leaders to simplify their insurance admin and reach more people through in-network care. If you're curious about how Headway can help work for you, head on over to join.headway.co/Joe. That's join.headway.co/Joe. to learn more. Thank you for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.